Matt's saying it's time.
It's time, Matt. Thank you. Let's see. Notice of participation by internet technology. The Pine County Commissioner Matt Ludwig will be attending the Pine County Board of Commissioners regular meeting today via interactive technology pursuant to statute 13D.02 and Minnesota Department of Administration Advisory Opinions 08-034 and 1300-009. Commissioner Ludwig will be seen and heard at the meeting by electronic means and will participate from Staybridge Suites, 2350 Commerce Drive, Rochester. Location open and accessible to the public, and I'm sure they're flocking in there, Matt. Public is invited to join the meeting in person or remotely. And with that, we'll call the meeting to order and rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands, one
nation,
under God,
indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Public forum, is there anybody that wishes to speak at the public forum? I've noticed we've got a flock of them here. Nobody's dialing in for public forum, are they, Ryan? No. All right. We'll then look to adopt the agenda. Did we have any additions?
We had a new hire.
Oh, yes, we did.
So we can add that to number 9B on the consent agenda. Do you need one too? Yeah.
Everybody get that? The new hire? We're going to add that to the consent agenda. We'll look for a motion to adopt the agenda.
Ludwig will move with the addition.
I'll second it.
A motion by Ludwig, second by Lovegren to adopt the agenda as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, we have, because a commissioner is remote, we still need to do the roll call.
Oh, do we? Okay. We
Okay.
learn a lot of rules in this game, don't we? Okay, Clerk Debbie, your favorite job.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll look for approval of the minutes of the July 6th, 2021 County Board meeting and summary for publications.
I'll make a motion.
Luggren moves.
Second.
More seconds. Any discussion? Not, the clerk will call the roll.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Aye. And then the minutes of the boards, reports and correspondence, the Pine County Housing Redevelopment Authority, regular meeting of May 26th, and the Pine County Chemical Health Coalition from July 12th.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Motion by Moore, second by Lovegren. Any discussion? Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
And then the consent agenda with the new hire added.
Ludwig will move.
Motion by Ludwig, second by Moore. Is there any discussion? If not, clerk call the roll.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lofgren.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move on to the facility committee. The minutes are attached. Somebody want to brief us on that?
Facilities, 7/7/21. I could take that, Matt.
All right.
There's a door and wall that's yet to be finished. Discussion of the signage to direct the people who enter the courthouse was also discussed. And that needs to be taken care of. HVAC's gonna be worked on soon. There were some recommendations from Heat Maintenance. That they also have some wood covering on a wall instead of, and then put sheetrock instead, because of the cost and accessibility to the communication wires and everything else, and cost, which was kind of nice to see. It'd be a great savings. Technology, boardroom should be completely done, right, Ryan, by the 26th, I believe was kind of the target date.
Yep.
UDA requirements were discussed. And then also comparing the similarities between this building and the building down in, of course, the courthouse. The boiler maintenance hopefully will terminate to the old building coming soon. And I think that about covers it. If there's anything you want to, your power supplies, or there's anything changed since on that since we're meeting. Next meeting, September 1st.
I like to pass on. I think the remodel of the boardroom in Pine City really turned out nice. I was in there for a meeting. Well, we've had a board meeting there and had a meeting yesterday, and it's like a huge room now without that rise.
A lot more user friendly, I think, too, the way it can be configured every kind of scenario you can think of.
It worked out good. So thanks everybody that worked on that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just want to add one thing to the facilities committee thing is that Ryan brought up an issue that when we built the North Pine Government Center and all the rules that were happening there, that a new hearing compliant code came in from ADA, and we are working on getting that accomplished at the North Pine Government Center too. So that'll be happening as soon as we can get that figured out.
There is at the boardroom now, there will be assistive listening devices for people to use if they,
Nice.
Oh,
and then Ryan was gonna get a quote to do the same technology up here.
good. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
We don't need any board action there. Personnel committee. Looks like you had a week-long meeting.
You want me to take it, Matt, or do you want to
That
do
would
it?
be awesome. That would be great if you would. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, we did have a meeting, Health and Human Services, we acknowledge a resignation, Darcy Holter, effective July 2nd, approved the backfill. Sheriff's Office, acknowledge a resignation of Corrections Officer Timothy Autumn, Tim E. McKellar, and Michelle Picker, and approved the backfill. The vacancies. Recommended the jail system coordinator job description revision and proposed to grade the position from a grade 10 to a grade 9. Sheriff's Office we did recommend the addition of a sergeant position and backfill for any vacancies that may occur. The sergeant position is grade 12 with a minimum starting wage at $29.36 an hour. Recommend to hire a head one deputy to cover vacancies created by the employee leaves of absence. This authorization will not increase authorized staffing level, but is intended to reduce the length of time positions are vacant.
That's all I had on there. So the adding,
Ahead was,
we're gonna be looking for already 3 deputies because of vacancies, the new sergeant position. So we just figured it's really hard to, hire anybody right now. By the time we do onboard a couple, hopefully it would just, either we're not gonna get enough or we would have someone else ready to go type of deal, so.
just to clarify that a little bit,
Otherwise,
with that, I would make a motion to approve the personnel committee.
Ludwig will second.
You have anything to add, Matt?
I do. I just feel that one of the primary roles of us, as a county board is to, provide the security for the county. And I think this is a good step, in our law enforcement getting it. We're still probably going to be a little short and a little, but at least we're in the right direction to, when people call 911, you know where I stand. They expect to get somebody there. So that's it.
Is there any other discussion? Are we gonna do the recognition now for the employee engagement and recognition?
That's number 9
Okay,
later on.
I thought I was seeing it, but then I couldn't see it. We've got a motion and a second.
I do have
One more thing.
I was gonna elaborate a little bit on the jail systems coordinator. What Rod had said, the reason that,
going down is because when the last one left, he did a lot of extra stuff that was part of it
they put that back on some sergeants.
and not necessarily took some duties away, but other people picked it up. So,
That's why
we're in the level of that, so.
so that's that.
All right. So, no discussion? Clerk, want to call the roll?
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lofgren.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Waldheim.
Yes.
Public safety. Who's gonna take that one?
The minutes right here, I can take it. We met on the 13th. There's a sheriff's staffing update. The addition of a sergeant position to the sheriff's department was discussed. We also talked about emergency management, annual update. The emergency management to provide an annual report to the county commissioners to update commissioners on activities, including training needs, community service, mutual aid, etc. And then the appointment of deputy director of emergency management. There is a recommendation to appoint Chief Deputy Scott Grice and Sheriff's Manager Denise as the deputy directors of the emergency management. And then the authorized board chair, chief deputy. That's read right, yeah. And sheriff's office manager and county administrator to sign loyalty oath cards.
Anybody got anything else to add there?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Maybe just to elaborate a little bit on the county attorney made a presentation, and that was following up the county board's January strategic plan where attorney office staffing was a high priority. And so the budget committee will get a very similar presentation coming up next month. But certainly if there were any questions of the attorney or if you wanted to add any framework before that, you're welcome. The minutes captured just a little bit of the comparative data. And I think it shows, the disparity that everyone knew, that a number of cases that the Pine County Attorney's Office runs through is higher than most of our surrounding counties, and our staffing level has not kept up.
Maybe Chisago County could just borrow us a couple. Looks like they got plenty.
They're definitely
Okay.
overworked up there.
We do not. Is there any action item there that we need?
There is.
Yeah, the appointment of the chief deputy, the emergency director, that'll take a motion, right?
Ludwig will move it.
And the recommendation is to appoint Scott Grice, PD directors.
You make that motion, Matt?
I did. I will
I'll
move
second.
that.
And JJ seconds. Any discussion? If not, clerk call the roll.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren. District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Economic Development Committee. I heard you had a marathon meeting too.
I was trying to keep up with you. We did have a meeting yesterday. Did you want me to take it or do you want to?
Please go.
Okay, I forgot my notes, but luckily Leslie sent me the minutes this morning.
All right.
So I'm gonna read off of this. So, yeah, we did, start the meeting at 9. Talked about the, American Rescue Plan update, what we were doing with Pine Tech and Community College. And then, they have already started recruiting and getting stuff going. They're working hard and I have a good feeling that they're gonna get a lot of good stuff done. Talked about the county, city, township, coordination meeting coming up next Tuesday, I believe, July 27th. Just kind of talking a little bit about what we want to do there, what we want to achieve and outcomes of that meeting. So hopefully we get pretty good participation on it, and can utilize these funds, and help the cities and townships that need help, figure out how to navigate it. Talked a little bit about the public health response to the pandemic. And Becky was there talking about she would like to try to do some mini grants as far as mental health. And with that, they're gonna kind of reach out to some people, some organizations that maybe have a way to attack the mental health a little bit better and apply for a grant that they could award, and just try to help people get through this. We're kind of on the back side of this, but there's a lot of stuff that went on the last year and a half that people are still wrapping their heads around. We had talked about how many angry people there are out there right now, and Jeff can attest to that. And just there's a lot of mental health issues, and we'd like to get ahead of it a little bit and use some of the ARPA funds to do that. Public health educator position, we were going to redirect one of them to, let me see here. From a public health educator to a public health planning. Right? Did I do that right? Yeah, okay. So it would just shift some staff to go a different direction. And then we actually went on a tour of dispatch, which was cool. I've never been down there. So Denise was there, was looking for some funds they got 3 stations, but they're all like, what, quarter circle or corner kind of thing. So they got 2 of them that kind of back to back, and they got one kind of by itself. And she said, if they have all 3 going, which is usually in something major going on, they would like to have, they want to do one corner one, and a flat one in the middle, so they can all be kind of part of a pod. And so she was looking for some funding to do that. And it was mostly just to move some technology. She said she's been working with Ryan to do that and like
So
a
it's
few
mostly
desks.
cabinet work?
Yeah,
Not the electronics.
yeah, no, because we have it all. They actually have 4 stations down there. So everything's there. It's just they need to redo some of the desks and, stuff like that. So it wasn't, and move some of the technology was the big thing that can cost a lot of money because that stuff can't be tampered with or something. It's gotta be, so yeah, so she kind of showed us how that'll work. And then, Sheriff Nelson was there talking about, we've been running into some issues in the jail, like always. There's always something going on in the jail. But it was really exploited with COVID that, if you need to segregate somebody, like females or juveniles or something like that, if they have to be by themselves, you almost have to shut down a whole cell. Or the whole, did I say that right? The whole cell? Section, yeah, so it ties up, in some cases, one person might tie up like 4 to 10 beds that they can't utilize anymore because they have to have it separated. So they're not talking about a full remodel, but in a few spots, maybe a block wall and a new door in the thing so they can separate it from the rest of the population. We talked a little bit about a body scanner, because they have a lot of contraband that comes into the jail. How does it get there? The only way it can come in is through the thing, so, and there was a big long list that I always said, whenever I see the sheriff come, there's a lot of money attached, but it is, public safety is not cheap. We argue that all the time, and I think they're doing a great job. It just, so they're gonna explore that a little bit, if maybe we can tap into some of the ARPA funds to get some of these done, and they said the DOC is, been kind of after them a little bit about changing some stuff, but their rules change all the time anyway, so so we're working on that. He's gonna work on that a little bit more to see, if there's kind of where we're gonna go and what we're gonna do. I think either way, we talked about something's gonna probably have to be done, but I think we were talking about pulling facility committee in a little bit and see what exactly we can do or what we gotta do there. So, and then, Terry was there, talking about probation. They got something called the, carry guides, and it's a supervision tool for clients and the staff to use, and he says it is really good. He's never really done it because it costs so much. And it's about $5,400. We'll cover it for 2 years, which does not sound like a lot of money, but, he said he always is very mindful of budgets and, he would like to try it. And we can use the ARPA funding to do this. And he says if it is something they really like and really helps, they're probably going to continue doing it. But he goes, this is kind of a way to get our feet wet, not invest into it and then be out levy dollars for it. So, then Leslie talked a little bit about, water and sewer infrastructure. Sandstone is looking at applying for the funds to run, underneath the freeway to the other side of the freeway to get sewer and water out there. Sturgeon Lake, was working on their, that lake level deal. Hinckley was working on, okay, it's all right here. Feasibility study, to support a 60 to 80 housing development unit. So they're looking at applying for some funding to see if they can get that done. And then the city of Pine City is, doing an environmental and topographical investigation on the land north of Fond Meadows. So across from the new courthouse, expanding that for putting infrastructure in there. And then, are we even halfway through yet?
I heard it was a long one.
No, we didn't. We powered through. Address negative impacts, countywide building renewal. So Lakes and Pines was, they proposed a draft budget, that through the ARPA funding to serve 25 owner occupied, 5 rental units and 15 commercial buildings. And Lakes and Pines administer that. It was, 1.792 million, which we kind of got a little scared by that. And this was just a proposal to say, hey, you know, if this is something we want to do, we can scale down, scale up. So we're gonna discuss that. We didn't push it forward because that's a lot of money. And, you know, as we work through this ARPA funding, maybe we can scale up a little bit or scale down or whatever. So we're thinking about trying to do something, but we're still working through that. And then, oh, childcare, that was another big one. Hinckley Finlayson School District acquired some property that they're talking about turning into like a childcare center. Where she said it would be, she said right now what they would like to do is in-home care providers there's 2 levels to this building that they acquired, that one could take 1 floor, one could take another floor, and then it wouldn't be in-home because there's so many challenges to do in-home daycare now, the restrictions, and I don't know. I know for a fact, I know a couple, 2, 3, just locally in Pine City that have quit in-home daycare now. And the need is more than ever. So trying to just navigate around some of that stuff and trying to help keep that going, because without that, and it's gotta be somewhat affordable, it doesn't work. People don't go to work and we need people working. And then Becky did talk about some food distribution that she wants to work on, end of August, I think it was. Yeah. And this was kind of, testing the waters a little. It's a little different than what they did, the CARES funding one. But like Becky had said, they're a little nervous about getting materials for this thing, just like we're all having issues with. So they're gonna test the waters, wait and see how this goes, and then hopefully do a few more after that. And we did talk a little bit about marketing the county, not only for visitors, but for people to live and work, is kind of what we're looking at. So that's exciting. We did talk a lot about that, but we'll see how that comes out. And then talked about broadband, as if we didn't have enough when we had broadband thrown in the mix. So.
If I could just ask you guys a question about the broadband, because I have had inquiries and it ties to the marketing the county.
Yep.
And
Yep.
broadband, and I've had questions, people that were potentially gonna buy a home and wondering how long will it be before we can get good internet there? Because if we buy this home, we both want to work from home.
Yep.
Because we have that opportunity, but they are not prepared to, they can't afford to have 2 houses.
Yep.
So they want to have 1 house where they can have good internet, and they're a younger couple that they have an opportunity. They don't want to live in the metro area.
Yep.
Because Jeff's done such a good job at police in Pine County. People are, honestly, they're looking at a place like Pine County where they think they died and went to heaven, because they got this open space, they got nice people to live with, and we got a good sheriff's department and good schools, and it's very attractive. And if they can work from home, that's the key. If they can't work from home, they can't swing the deal.
Well, and I think, was it yesterday you guys had the meeting? Or was that?
With broadband, yeah.
Yeah, to try to get and I think they'll talk about that, but they were, to get a consultant on board to help us navigate what to do next with this. So, so they'll talk about that a little bit, but, you know, and that's what we were talking about is, I mean, I think broadband, like I've said, it's at the point where it's as important as power. Like we talked a little bit about the rural electrical cooperations and stuff like that, where, you know, back whenever that was done, a few years before my time, that someone decided the person out, you know, 12 miles away from town needed electricity just as bad as everybody else. So we're getting there and we're working really hard on it. So that it's exciting, but we all want it to happen a lot sooner than later, but we'll see how that goes. And then they talked about the HRA. Leslie's been really working hard with the HRA on top of everything else. Just to try to kind of reset everything and where are they gonna go and what are they gonna do? So I think a lot of exciting stuff coming out of there, that will be coming in the near future that we'll be able to report. So, and we got done about 11:45. So it was a long meeting. We're working on we're gonna probably continue to do this committee every month, at least for now, because there's just so much to do. And if we're having almost a 4-hour meeting already, we can't push that off. But yeah. Do you have anything to add?
No,
Kinda
that well covers it. Just with the broadband, that, you know, a little bit, we just talked about the new technology, you know, with satellites. If there was a gentleman up in Asco that actually did get picked and he's using it, he loves it. And not to discourage anyone from moving up here, but I think is there some hot spots? I think maybe you even discussed some of these townships maybe already are wired, that maybe there's something that could be done there to, not knowing where they're buying, of course, but if there's something close.
Right.
It might just be a 4-wheeler ride or a drive up and maybe get into tap into somebody else's until get this thing done. You know, maybe there's another way to promote this and help them out, get them up here.
And did we have action?
We have 3 action items. If you'd like me to state.
Yes.
I would do that. So the first action item is to approve $80,000 of ARPA funds to allow HHS to run a local grant program to increase mental health services in the community. The second action item is really a 2-parter. The first part is to approve $18,629.25 for dispatch furniture and layout improvements. And then to approve $35,985.76 for an emergency medical dispatch software system. And then the third action item is to approve $5,450 to purchase the carry guides for probation.
And I will make that motion.
3.5 of them?
Yeah.
Okay. I was quick trying to do everything in the,
Are you doing it all at once?
pardon me?
Are you gonna do them all at once, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
If I get
I'll
a second.
I'll
Okay.
second.
What was the second number for dispatch?
Second number for dispatch is 35. Oops. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, on 935, 985, 76 for the EM dispatch portion.
Oh, okay.
And I'm assuming we've got a good, because we got a finite amount of money, and so we're not gonna overspend what we got. We know that. So any discussion? Thank you, economic development guys, for hanging in there in that.
I just had a question. Josh, you had talked about, you met with the school, or you talked with the school about what's going on with the ARPA money that we gave to them. Did they say if they've had any people from, we added the other 3 school districts?
Oh, I can say that. I was at their kickoff meeting last Wednesday or whenever it was, and they had, I don't know, maybe 12, 15 kids with a parent or somebody there to learn about, because it's brand new to them.
Right.
I mean, they just heard about it 2 days ago, and to get that many, I think they were encouraged to get there and try to get them, guide them down a path. They had counselors there and some instructors to kind of guide them where to start. So
So they have been getting.
yeah.
Nice. Good. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not,
I have one,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair. I do, but it's not relevant to this. It's just, was there any discussion at that meeting about how the townships are doing with their requests for the Recovery Act dollars? Any update there? I don't know what's going on there, that's all.
I think we're gonna find out next Tuesday, Matt,
Okay,
unless you know. I haven't, The only feedback I have is from the city of Rock Creek, and they are in wonderment. They know they just need to know more about the program. What can we spend the money on? Because we don't want to send it back. So,
Okay, I was worried more like, do they need help accessing or, doing?
they may need more help than we can imagine, is what I'm gathering. Because they don't have, we got Leslie's and David's and Becky's and Jeff's and everybody working. You got to remember, if you're on a town board, you got 3 people in most of those town boards, some of them 5, and a part-time clerk. And, they don't have the capacity to wade through that paperwork, I don't think.
You know what I would do, Matt, is just really highly recommend that your townships go to that meeting next Tuesday and meet with David and Kelly to hear more about what it is and what's available and to get the help there.
And hopefully they'll be there and they will reach out and say, can you help us? And we will. But,
And I think.
I just worry because most of them all have full-time jobs. They're doing other things and, their township work is kind of part-time. And I just want to, if there's something we need to do as a county, I just want us to do everything we can. That's all. And I don't know what that is for sure, but.
I was just going to say that the committee did talk about next Tuesday's meeting, about ideas for the agenda. And what our strategy is going to be is if townships and cities are there and they're on top of it and they feel confident, that's great. The list that we are really going to be looking for is the jurisdictions that do not show up, so that we have a list of follow-ups. And then also the jurisdictions that do show up and ask for help. And so we, on the positive side, we have a lot of time. The state of Minnesota, I don't think has even sent out the final calculated amounts for the townships and the cities, or if they have, I haven't seen them yet. And so we have some time to work with the jurisdictions that need help or want help.
and the next Tuesday's meeting is here in this room at 5 p.m.
At 5 p.m.
And that's what we were.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
With Kelly, she's trying to get some stuff together where if a township or city is just like, hey, give me something to partner on and we'll just help you fund it. And that's kind of where the ones that just are, it's over their head.
Right.
Where they just don't have the capacity to do it. So that's what we're working on. So.
Matt, did you have something?
No, I just am happy that was a good, as long as we stay ahead of it, that's better than being.
Yeah. The good thing about this program is the deadline isn't like next week. So we got some time.
Thank you.
So we do have a motion. We haven't voted on that yet. A lot of rambling here by me. But anyway, we got a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? And if not, Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lofgren.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes. Land Committee.
All right.
Terry will take that.
So
I filled in for Matt yesterday.
did meet yesterday and we came up with our land auction that's been approved. And so we've got that's all set up to go. The date is going to be September 17th at 10 o'clock and it's going to be in the boardroom in Pine City. So that'll be going out. We have a request for a land exchange. It's going to be exchanging, if it happens, some property in Fleming Township that we own with some property in Danforth Township that the property owner has. Vice versa. They own it in Fleming and we own it in Danforth. We did give Greg the go ahead to see where it would go, if it would be feasible for us to do that or not. And so we're waiting for more information on that. And we have a memorial forest ordinance that we talked about yesterday. And we had talked about that at a meeting back in I want to say February or March, somewhere in there. And Greg made the changes to it. We're going to be fixing it up a little bit more and it'll be coming to the board in August. But the things that we talked about was hunting stands and blinds, that they have to be temporary forest roads, that you can't have it. If you've got property that we have in Memorial Forest and you've got a 40 or whatever in the middle of that, when you're only allowed to use four-wheelers, whether you own the property or not, you can still just use the four-wheelers because it's not fair to have somebody driving back there when other people can't. Permanent structures are prohibited. You can't remove the soil and take what you want. The same thing with timber. Agricultural, you have to have the license. Dispersed camping, it explains what that is and gives the direction on what dispersed camping is. There's a definition sheet on here, so it kind of gives you an idea of what things are. So I think we did go with the 3 inches for the timber mat for the stump. We had talked about that at the meeting last time. So that is on here and we did go with that. So keep an eye out for next month and you'll have the actual copy to review and we'll look at it then.
Just, if I could just add, Terry.
Yeah.
The problem that we've had on public land is we've had people in one case with a dozer in making trails on a county land, which isn't appropriate, but there's really no ordinance against that. So you got to tell them to quit doing that. And, you know, and then we have an individual that built a cabin on county land, not a deer stand, a cabin.
A nice one.
And so we got to just clean up some of that language and make Riesel read that ordinance and give us all the legal gobbledygook that needs to be in it for an ordinance. But it's basically, you know, if somebody has a deer stand and there's a little popple tree between where you think the deer might come and your stand, it's one thing to cut it down, but to take a brush hog in there and cut a 6 foot wide shooting lane for 200 yards from your stand, it probably isn't appropriate on public property. And that's the kinds of things that are happening. So we want to make that language very clear that those things aren't appropriate.
The other thing that we're kind of watching for is that people aren't going to go and put, you know, big hunks of metal into the trees so that it's going to ruin it for our forestry, you know, that type of stuff. So it's really protecting it for the public and protecting it for our use down the road.
So do you know like who owns the cabin? and all
Yes.
that?
Yeah,
They do. They've chatted with them and he's
got a date.
is in the process of removing it.
Yeah, he has a date to have it gone.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he thought about
And
it.
the land exchange, we have done them in the past. We just haven't done any recently, but a party owns an 80 inside of a big tract of Memorial Forest land. And they would like to trade that 80 for some land that's that's next to land they already own, that's tax forfeited by the county. So it's and the land exchange rules say it has to be of equal value. So they'll do a timber assessment and assess the timber value on one versus the other. So one side or the other's not getting a better deal. Both of them are typical Pine County land. There's some nice highland and there's some nice Pine County swamp.
And there's no access.
Both pieces of property. So the property that the individual wants to end up with is on some land that Greg is completing some timber harvest on, and then that property will probably go to the land auction, and you probably will have to divide that up into smaller parcels because it's all landlocked land. So neighbors have indicated some interest, but can't afford to buy 240 acres, but would like 40 that joins their 40, so. And Greg's pretty good about setting up those sales to not cut anybody out, but add value to their existing property. It's interesting. I think he'd said something like this land exchange is about a 14-step process, and we're really at between step 1 and step 2. So it's a long ways from being a done deal. Anyway, it's very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For attending. Thank you for going to my stead, Steve, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, it was interesting, Matt. Thanks.
And Mr. Chair, just to note that the action items from that meeting will come to the next county board meeting.
Right. Thank you. Personnel recognition, acknowledgement, and request for backfill of the resignation of part-time household hazardous waste attendant, effective July 21st. Authorize the backfill.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
It's relatively self-explanatory. Timing wise, it just didn't hit the personnel committee, but we want to move forward. And so we thought it prudent just to bring it to the county board for
Okay.
approval to move forward.
I'll move it.
Okay.
I'll second. Ludwig.
Got a motion by Moore,
Second by Ludwig.
second by Ludwig. Any discussion? If not, Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Lori, thank you for coming. We have Lori Vorlson from Central Minnesota Council on Aging, and I've been the board representative to that organization for a long time. And I've been the chair of that board for a long time. But I remember when I first got on the board, I told Lori, I just feel like a fish out of water. And she said, why? I said, I do not understand the acronyms, the programs, what does this do for Pine County? She was very patient with me and really taught me what the Council on Aging through all these contracts we have helps Pine County. And so it's, I think from that little pittance that we give to the Council on Aging, I think you times that times a few thousand, hundreds of thousands, and that's what we get in return. But Lori runs a super organization. I've never met anybody that works for Lori that isn't there because they have a passion for helping people. They really are a class act. So Lori, you got the floor for.
It's a great organization. So the Social Medicine Council on Aging is a nonprofit, but we're kind of quasi-governmental. So we're a nonprofit, but offer funding. 90% of our funding comes from the Minnesota Board on Aging, which it's a division that falls under Department of Health and Human Services. So most of our dollars is federal, but we do receive some state funding as well. We're designated to serve as the area agency on aging for the 14 county area. So our main office is in Sartell. We have satellite offices in Cambridge and Raynor. And then we have several staff that work from their homes, including one that lives in Hinkley. I don't know if that works from home. But so in the nation, every county in the nation has an area agency that services them. And in Minnesota, there's 6 area agencies on aging and 1 tribal AAA. So we cover all the way from Pine down to Chisago. So all the 5, as well as UCAS, Todd, Medina, and Morris. So it's quite the geographical territory. One of our primary responsibilities is we receive federal Older Americans Act dollars that we work through our board and our advisory to discern of the array of services that we can fund out with those dollars, what is most needed in our local area. And then we solicit applications and award contracts and grants for those services. So with Older Americans Act dollars, the whole intent is to service individuals over age 60 and family caregivers to help them remain in their own homes. So we don't fund any programming that goes into, for example, assisted livings or nursing homes. These dollars are really to help support frail older adults remaining in their own homes. And unlike like the waiver services that you folks work with, Older Americans Act services are not means tested, so there's no income or asset eligibility. Individuals have to be over age 60, and they receive the services, and they can voluntarily contribute to the service, but they're not denied service whether they donate or not. So in Pine County, our current contracts for services are with Catholic Charities for congregate dining, delivered meals, the Midman Legal Aid for doing some legal consultation, Family Pathways, Lakes and Pines, and those are the providers that we have right now that are servicing in Pine County. So when you look at that document that I provided you, you can see that in 2019, so we typically award between $3 to $5 million a year for a 14 county area. In 2019, you can see that Pine County received about $131,907 of federal payments to older adults for services in Pine County. In 2020, that almost doubled to $236,045. And in 2021, I didn't provide your information because it will be likely substantially more than what it was in 2021, even because just as you've been speaking today, Families First dollars, CARES Act dollars, and now the American Rescue Act recovery dollars. We are expecting to receive our allocation amounts from the state. Should be any day now, and then those dollars will be awarding out to providers for services. So our providers have really worked hard during COVID to really, retailer services. I think the service up here that has had the most drastic impact, I think, for older adults in Pine County has been the meal program. So historically, Catholic Charities has provided home delivered meals to frail older adults where they have volunteers that deliver daily meals. And then they've had standard congregate sites where older adults can come to a community location, senior center, or other community location and receive a hot meal. Well, during COVID, everything has been frozen and meals have been delivered in packs of up to 30 meals at a time. So individuals have been able to come to different locations. In Pine County, we've had many new locations that have opened up in addition to our congregate site doing curbside pickup. We've worked with Catholic Charities and with Family Pathways, and what's been happening is that we've been doing frozen meals in partnership with Family Pathways food shop locations, and they've been distributing to older adults up to 30 frozen meals a month where they can get at the food shop locations. And then we've also worked with the state NAPS programs, Nutrition Assistance for Seniors programs, which is it's the food commodities distributions that happens to a lot of the church locations out here in Pine County. And so once a month, through the state, the Fair for All and First and Harvest Foods comes out and does their their food distribution of their NAPS boxes. And then Catholic Charities is now bringing in frozen meals where those low-income seniors can also, in addition to getting their cheese and dried milk and that, they can pick up to 30 frozen meals too. And then once again, those are just done on a donation basis. So really been trying to work at how do we really find ways to reach those low-income seniors. So in pre-COVID, if you look in 2019 with the meals in Pine County, we served 296 older adults with about 15,000 meals. In 2020, that went up to 622 individuals with 32,754 meals. Now, already halfway through the year, Catholic Charities has already served over 26,000 meals halfway through the year. So we'll want to see what happened in 2020 as well. And I know that Ruth has been working with Becky on looking at how we can leverage the Title III meals and once again reach individuals in need by potentially partnering with, I think you're going to see your American Rescue Act dollars too. So that the American Rescue Act dollars through the county will cover the meals for those under age 60, and in the Title III will cover the meals for the people over age 60. And you know, while those will be, you know, one-time events right now in August, those individuals also be shared information where the other food distribution sites are in Pine County too. So once again, just looking for new avenues to reach really the low income, high nutritional risk seniors and getting them with the food supports that they need. And nutrition is our largest category of funding. There's a lot of right now parameters. We receive our allocation in congregate and home delivered. And so all of these frozen meals, because people are sitting down and eating together, are considered home delivered. They get classified under home delivered meal allocation. So one of the things we've really been trying to press with congressional delegates is that we need to just have some flexibility and receive a nutrition allocation and be able to use that in whatever our communities most need, whether it's home delivered meals for those that are very frail versus, you know, these frozen meals versus the traditional congregate meals. But we are finding that, you know, by doing the frozen meals, it really, it's reaching a lot of people who tend to be much more with chronic conditions, and they're not wanting to attend a formal congregate site and socialize with other people. And so, but they tend to be the lower income individuals. So it is the group that we're trying to reach. Homemaker Services, we fund through Catholic Charity or through Family Pathways and Lakes and Pines. The 29 people that's been served in Pine County, housekeeping, and then grocery shopping assistance falls into there. So that's been a big area, especially during COVID, of getting people their groceries and medication supports. Caregiver respite services, about 24 people that caregivers are being supported with that. Legal assistance, once again, we have a contract with and Senior Law Project about St. Cloud, and they have several attorneys, and they have monthly time at each of the counties in our region, but they provide legal consultation with things such as evictions, wrongful terminations, appeals to Medicare. Those types of things are what they're working on. So last year, 11 older adults from Pine County were served with 55 hours of legal counsel. The telephone reassurance was new last year, which we provided them with our providers funding. You see 72 people with 196 calls. We provided additional dollars to our Title III partners to really reach out and along with this year as well. For example, this year, the dollars for telephone reassurance were provided to all of our all of our contractors, and we ask them to reach their clients, and ask them if they are interested in getting the COVID vaccine. If they are, do they need transportation or do they need help registering for the vaccine location? So they were making those types of calls to people they're already connected with. And then the senior linkage is the only direct service that we do as an area agency on aging. And I hope you're all familiar with the senior linkage line, but it's actually a program in the Department of Health and Human Services, and we operate it locally, but it's a 1-800 number that people can call, and we have social workers on staff that can help people over the phone, or they can meet them out in the community locations. Last year, everything was done over the phone, unfortunately. Our senior linkage staff are starting to make arrangements to opening up our outreach sites again. Those will start to do face-to-face now in August is when we're going to resume that. And we have a social worker that's located out at the Cambridge office that covers this area, along with, actually we have two that cover this area up here. And they're there to help them meet in person. A lot of work around paying for prescription drugs, sorting through Medicare, understanding what Medicare will and will not cover, individuals that are being transitioned from the nursing home. If they don't have a county or a health plan caseworker, then we have staff that work with them on developing a support plan to figure out what services they need and get them connected. So I do have these, so you can, they're just nice little chair pads. We use these with pharmacists actually and doctors, but it's nice to keep in your bag, and it's just the number for senior linkage. So if you work with people that are in need of it. Thank you. Our request to the county, again, so when we draw down our federal Older Americans Act dollars, we do have to have local match for that. And so the amount of match that I'm in need of is just over $56,000, and we prorate that by the 14 county area. So based on the 60+ population, still Pines County requests has always been $2,534, and our request still remains the same. You know, when the new census data comes out, when we look at that funding formula, we look at that funding formula with the new census data in there, and it may change in subsequent years. But our current ask for 2021 was for 2,534, and I did put in a letter that I submitted. I usually do that in June because I know boards are in the process of making their budgets for next year. So I would ask for that continued support, and then we ask to continue to have a representative on our board. So we have an advisory, so we have a representative that's either an older adult or a senior service provider from each of the 14 counties, and Patrick from the county from social services serves on our advisory, and then Commissioner Hallen serves on our board. And ask for that as well. Do you have any questions or?
Thank you, Lori. The first thing I learned, and the thing I still remember, is the senior linkage line. If somebody asks you a question about, my mom needs some help or my aunt needs some help, you can't remember anything else, have them call the senior linkage line. Those people are really awesome. They can answer every question you may have about, there's some great services for people that, they might just need somebody to come and help them get some meals ready for the rest of the week, or to go grocery shopping for them. Becky and I have talked about that. If your parents get elderly and you live in the same town as them, it's pretty easy to stop by every day, stop at the grocery store, give them a call. Do you need anything? You know, we're stopping out or whatever. But if you're living here and your kids are living in San Francisco, they would love to help, but they can't. And sometimes you just need somebody, you know, to do some of those minor, we think they're minor things, but they get to be a major thing if you can't drive anymore. So, yes.
Just one point, the $2,500, Becky has that in her budget. And so if you're wondering that.
Well, that's nice of her.
Budgeted. And then if I could ask Lori a question.
Yeah.
On the update statistics you gave on the usage of services, is there an unmet need or is this pretty much meeting the need?
No, so, no, great question. So this here is based on information that was actual service delivered by Older Americans Act. So one of the things you'll notice on here, for example, you probably wouldn't notice it, but when I look at what we provide funding to in other counties, transportation, I mean, that's an unmet need, even though we have providers, but we don't have a contract provider for transportation in Pine County. In particular, assisted transportation, chore, home modification, you know, those are some other key areas that would be areas too that we do have we are in a current funding reception applications right now for applications for next year. So, but yes, I mean, there are definitely unmet needs. And what I would also say is that, so for example, if you take Homemaker, in 2020, 29 individuals from Pine County received 291 hours of Homemaker. Does that mean that they're fully meeting the needs? No. Family Pathways uses both volunteers and staff, and they you know, it's a workforce shortage. I mean, so what I would say is that the dollars that you see here are dollars that we actually paid out for services in Pine County. I can tell you that most of our providers have, and it's not because we do everything on contracts. So it's not because the need isn't out there, but it's the capacity of the organizations to find volunteers and to find staff to do the services.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. So I would look for a motion. I think we can do them all at once for the contribution and agreement to be signed and to appoint me and Patrick back to the.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion by Lobgren, second by Waldham. Any discussion?
I have a question. So do you want me to include Patrick Meacham as a, okay.
Hearing no discussion, we'll have the clerk call the roll.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren.
Thank you. Yeah. Pine County Recycling Contract Amendment.
Good morning, Mr.
Morning.
Members of the board.
Morning.
Morning.
So, we got a new recycling contractor in 2021. And we have, what was that, 2020? Oh, time just flies. Well, so we have been discussing, one site in particular in Finlayson, where it's an unstaffed recycling shed. When they bid the project, they bid based on a sorted recycling product, meaning that there'd be, you know, almost a marketable product. And that's how they operate in other counties that they've worked. At our staff locations, that's working, where the residents are kind of, there's a little more guidance from staff on how to sort things, and it's orderly, and that works for their system. At our unstaffed locations, which are Finlayson and Bruno, when this contractor came in, they had very immaculate signage of where each thing goes, really nice new containers, new dumpster. There was a new look in many ways, and we've not had a good, the participants haven't been following the rules very well. It's been kind of a mess. We've been getting 6 to 10 yards of garbage per week. There's more garbage coming in than there is space to put dumpsters to collect it. And the contractor hauls it back to Cloquet. And then it's just so unsorted that they're basically running it as a mixed recycling product that gets shipped down to the Twin Cities to be mechanically sorted, which was again not congruous with their bid or their contract. So they've proposed that we come up with a strategy to fix it or remove it, just because it's not working. We put signage out on the sheds, kind of trying to catchy flyers. Hey, you, pay attention. We need you to follow the rules. That didn't work. There was a social media post by the city and by the county. That didn't work. It was the newspaper. And I approached the city. They ran it through their city council. Do we have any ideas of how to make this better? And they basically had no suggestions. So there's no publicly owned property that's an easy fit that would be better monitored, that we can come up with. So with no better ideas, I guess we're proposing to amend the contract to remove that location, just because the project has to stay within budget. And one thing that we've looked at is, as we've trimmed a few of these sites over the years, the unstaffed sites, one thing we always look at is proximity to other locations, commute patterns, that type of thing. So with it being 6.5 miles from Sandstone, where we have a staff recycling center, folks in Finlayson probably have to drive somewhere to get groceries, and it's probably that direction. It seems to like maybe it makes sense. So that's our proposal, is to amend attachment 1 of the contract to remove Finlayson for the remainder of the year. Do you have questions?
How much, I mean, there, in your mind, obviously there must not be enough stuff that would warrant having a person man a site for a day a week or a 2-day or whatever.
We weren't able to identify a simple property to do that at. I think people would use it if it was there. It would be more cost out of solid waste funds to have another person sit there. But yeah, Kelly and I discussed that.
I mean, we've had this discussion before as we've closed other sites, because the people that do recycle, there's a point where they just don't take it. Is it 6 miles or 10 miles or I don't know, for everybody's different, but.
Yeah.
We had to stop when we moved Tinkley because we couldn't get to the other facilities when they were open. You know, we were working and we just couldn't do it. So, you know, I think that created a hardship for a lot of people, but it was a junkyard in Tinkley. It was bad.
Yeah, it's a sad commentary, I think, on that people can't police themselves. But I don't think we have much choice.
Yeah. Originally, I would set my sights at how do we have a stellar recycling rate so that we're getting as much recycling out of that landfill as we can, which we pay dearly for. But at what cost, you know? And so in some ways, if people want to recycle in Pine County, you could also argue we've got lots of opportunities to do that.
So is this going to drop what we're paying right now for?
It wouldn't. That's not the proposal. Kelly and I talked about that too. One of the things that with the contractor. We're having the same issue in Bruno that's also unstaffed. And it's just not nearly the massive volume that it's an imminent problem for the business, you know, there. So in some ways, it's kind of compromise. So we're gonna let that one persist.
Okay.
Go ahead. Is that the only two unstaffed sites or those are the only two?
And they were, as we were trimming sites, when Phase was the contractor, they were the better ones. And I don't know if Finlayson has gotten worse, partly since Phase closed their doors and that was a free dump site for a number of years.
It'll be interesting to see where do they put their garbage now if they can't put it in the recycle shed.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't know. There is no easy answer for that.
I've also wondered if expanding the services that we do have in Sandstone, you know, we've got a recycling center that we're definitely not taking much else. If that should be something considered.
So what we have before us today is we just got to make a decision on this one.
I'll make a motion to
Amend the contract.
I'd second.
A motion by Moore, seconded by Waldham to amend the contract for recycling. Any more discussion? If not, Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
Thanks, Caleb. County Staff Appreciation Day. Consider the approval of resolution 2021-52 proclamation on July 27th, 21, Pine County Staff Appreciation Day. So y'all have this one copy in front of you of the resolution. Statewide deal.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are we going to do anything for our staff other than put this in the box?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Jen Frederickson is working on some ideas, and Jackie, it looks like you're on the call. If you do, can you give any detail on that?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Jessica and Jennifer are working on receiving testimonials from department heads and supervisors with the theme being how we appreciate our staff and what we appreciate about them. And those comments will either be put into the newsletter, or there's even a possibility we may do some videos for the website. So, and thank you to the staff that has responded so far. We've received some very kind words about our fantastic staff.
I was thinking ice cream bars or something. I think we have fantastic staff.
Yes, we do.
They've really busted butt, especially during COVID. I think of Becky's employees and what they had to go through, and just the offices being open and people really stepping up. I do appreciate our staff.
So we need to,
Make a motion to pass this resolution naming July 27th as County Staff Appreciation Day.
I'll second.
got a motion by Lovegren, seconded by Moore for resolution 2021-52. Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren. District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Thank you. We move on to schedule a meeting, committee of the whole on September 14th. That would take place at Nemadji Research. We haven't done this for a while because of the pandemic, but it's our tradition to move our committee meetings around the county to businesses and town halls and such.
So are we doing motion? You need motion, I'll move that.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second to set the committee of the whole meeting on the 14th at Nemadji Research in Bruno. Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lovegreen. District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes. Move on to commissioner updates. Soil and water.
Yeah, new supervisor there is Jack Frechette. He's yet not to be sworn in yet, so he can't vote. Hopefully that'll take place soon. There's a vacant position yet in wildlife. There's a lot of no meetings. There was no meeting for forestry, Snake River, the one watershed, one plan, LSC, no meeting. Same for the Nemadji one and the Snake River. Policy, no meeting. Drill, nothing to report. Trees, nothing to report. And there wasn't any NRCS present. A little bit of something I think should be on the radar here for the board or for the county would be there was discussion on the new federal holiday of Juneteenth. So one of the persons on the board would like to see what the county is going to do if they're going to give employees off for the day. It was his feeling that their district would follow suit, and Paul is going to follow up with the county. He'll try to get all. He was on vacation last week. I'm sure they'll be calling you to see what's going to be recommendation. On the budget committee, there's roughly 160,000 left undesignated after all their other funds and unearned revenue was accounted for. So they're going to allocate 50,000 of undesignated funds into their annual budgets for the next 3 years, starting in 2022. Next meeting date and time is moved from the 11th at 3 p.m. to the 4th of August.
Thank you.
That's all you got. You're welcome.
Let's see, East Central Solid Waste, we met last Monday. More garbage is coming into that landfill than ever. We can't seem to get ahead of it. I mean, they're keeping up, but when you haul more garbage, you know, month after month than you ever did, it means you're going to run out of space earlier than you had planned on. So that's moving up the process that we're going to have to, you always got to think several years ahead of where we're going to have the next cell. So we do have room for some more expansion. So, and the deer carcass disposal issue apparently is not dead. One of the commissioners went to the town board. The landfill is in Arthur Township and requested that the town board put a moratorium on disposal of deer carcasses in the landfill. If they do that, Reese, it'll come down to a legal question. Can they, if MPCA says it's solid waste, can they designate one single source of solid waste that can't be put in a landfill? I say no, but that will be a job for you to decide down the road if it comes to that.
So, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Did they commit that they ain't even gonna take their own? Or are they still on,
They-
take our own, but no?
No, they'll take, right now, the landfill is gonna take them, but now Danny went to the town board and the town board is considering a moratorium. They haven't acted on it, so. I think when you told them they better not be taking their own, then well, when they found out they had deer farms and they had the same problem we did, I think it changed their mind. Mille Lacs Band Ojibwe meeting, or wait, Pine County Chemical Health Coalition.
Okay, so we're still waiting to get people together so that we can figure out the core group and where our next step is gonna be. We've had a problem getting people to, that can all meet at the same time, so we're getting that going. We talked about, we've received $1,144.79 from statutory fees collected for felony and misdemeanors. 1,000 was paid to the host Lionheart Experience at Willow River and the Pine City Schools this fall. So our balance right now is $15,311.23. We have a Fishing for Youth that's going to be coming up, and Kevin Glass from probation he's working on that. Was a really good event that they had. Was it 2 years ago? And last year they couldn't do it, but it's just exciting that they can bring that back on. So that's coming up. And then we just talked about trainings and who's doing what. Yeah. I will add to that I've done I've been doing trainings through Montana Institute. So I did a 3-day training session, and then it's, I think, 8 weeks where you meet once a week and talk about different topics. And it's been interesting. There's some stuff that's really hard to sit through because it doesn't apply. And then there's some stuff that you can just really grow from, and then figuring out different avenues to go, for instance, mental health. We've talked about mental health today, and that's a really big thing, just which way chemical health wants to go or a chemical coalition wants to go. So grabbing data for that also.
You want to just continue on with the Mille Lacs Band meeting?
Sure. Mille Lacs Band. See if I can read my notes. So they're looking right now at how they can expand in Hinckley. And so they want to put like another freeway exchange off. And I think that's been talked about for years, on how to do that and where to put it. And so they're putting it out to bidders to do an impact study. We're looking at doing that, just to kind of figure out where they can go and what they can do and what changes they can make and improvements. They've got some really cool things that it's on the goals that they'd like to see set, and we'll see where those can go. And that was the majority of the talk, was just what can happen, what they're looking at. And Leslie and I are going to be going there the 30th to meet with them in Mille Lacs to talk about what they're working on and seeing their pictures and their diagrams and where things are happening there.
Let's see, AMC County Government 201. Anybody go to that?
I did. That was the one down in St. Paul. And they had some really, really good speakers. They talked about the meeting laws that are coming up and the changes. My brain just died on the word. Making sure that we don't have more than a quorum that meets or talks, or how we email or that type of stuff, just making sure that we follow the rules. They talked about our personalities and how we work as a board with our different personalities. David Bartholomew was there and talked about the city and working together and different ideas. So it was a lot of brainstorming and talking and team working and team building and trying to show us how to work as a team on our county boards. It was good.
Which one? Oh, the library board. I moved right over it.
Oh, and you've been waiting for that one, haven't you, Josh? We were working on the budget at the last library board. So we did work on the budget. And what they were talking about would be an increase for Pine County of like 8.8%. So we talked about, which was kind of fun because it's a lot of the guy commissioners that have been on there forever. And she sat down and looked at me and said, I know you want it lower. I get it, but we got to go through this anyway. And then they'd look at her and say, I know, it's too high. But right now, they're looking at a 7% increase is what it would be coming out at. And they told her to try to get it down to 4%. So one thing is they were going to buy a van or a vehicle. And, buying a vehicle right now is like buying a home. It's not a cheap thing. You can't find them. So that's been put on hold until next year. We talked about they have to have a reserve of 50% that will get them through 6 months if anything happens. And so with their budget, that's what they're coming down to, is to have that. And it's the same thing with the county. The majority of our money goes to salaries and benefits. So trying to figure out how to work that through. They're working that out, and we're going to meet again next month to go through and see what changes were able to be made to get the budget down.
One question, is the increase just increase in cost, or is it, because sometimes like our usage will go up the way their formula is. They say,
So most of it is, the majority of the increase is if you give their people their cost of living increases and their step performances.
okay,
That's the majority of the increase is with that.
because I know we've had some increases before, but it was, the actual budget was flat, but our increase was because of usage, and I don't remember the formula already.
When they're doing it off of 2018.
Yeah.
2020, they didn't really have the usage, but they did have library vehicles that went, they went to Carrick and, Duquette and all these areas so that people could check out books. They did some really amazing things. They've upped their technology, but a lot of that was done through grants.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And one thing, and David's worked with me previous on this, they always hold fast to that 50%.
They said that's the auditor said that they need to have that.
But we've kind of argued back a little bit as far as that's kind of unrealistic numbers.
Okay.
So,
And thanks, Josh. Tomorrow at the special meeting, during Kelly's presentation, she'll outline the county's reserves and whatnot, and I think that will be a good comparison. And so just keep that in the back of your head. And then if I understood, Terry, what you said is the budget was going up 7%. Our portion was going up 8.8%. And so I think that, to your point, Josh, we're a little bit ahead of the flat increase. So it's got to be usage or tax capacity that's increasing in Pine at a rate faster than others.
which the usage and stuff is a good.
It says it's.
That's a good thing.
Tax, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that just means we're using the libraries more, which is the whole point of it, you know, so it is, that's it before, but yeah, keep beating them up on the reserve because that's the auditor, it's not the state auditor that's requiring that.
Their auditor.
It's their private auditor. Yeah, that's a good place to be. So, we've tapped into it a few times, to them liking than they wanted to, but it was like, yeah, no, we gotta beat this down a little bit. So,
Yeah, and that's, that is what she's working at, is taking it down 3%. It'll be interesting talking about usage. They're gonna be opening Hinckley so that they're gonna be open more hours on that, like going to the gym pass. It'll be interesting to see how many people utilize that and what that does and if it would increase usage for that.
okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
what is our annual contribution to that board right now?
I am showing that for 2020. Oh, wait, nope, that's none.
300,000.
Like 300, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
300.
That was $338,061. 2021, it was $338,155. 2022, they're looking at $359,952.
That's a lot of money.
Tell them to cut her back.
Yeah, working on it.
Okay, the Transportation Partnership, that meeting was canceled. The Council on Aging, you just heard from Lori. I can't add much to what she was talking about. The Transit Advisory Committee, I don't know if that meeting ever happened, because here's what happened. We were gonna have the Council on Aging executive meeting, and it turned out it was at the same time as the transit meeting. So I asked Lori if she could move the transit meeting back an hour, and she did. And then they moved the transit meeting an hour from what was scheduled. And then people were saying, well, I went to the courthouse and nobody was there. So,
And if I could speak,
yeah,
And she had sent out an email previously, and when I saw those emails, I reached back out to her because the boardroom was unavailable. And she said that she had sent out a notice and that it was going to be by Zoom. But I don't know if that ever took place, but it was supposed to be a virtual meeting.
Okay, apparently I never got that Zoom meeting, but anyway, we'll survive. And apparently other people didn't either. Extension Committee.
Yeah, I did make that. It was at the community garden in Pine City. Have you ever been there?
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
Yeah,
Super nice.
it is.
I was very impressed. So they talked a lot about the garden, how it became, how I didn't realize that the city was so heavily involved, which makes it even better. I mean, they even have it put a hydrant in so they can water everything and it don't cost anybody money or anything. So, I mean, it does, but it don't. So that's a lot of what we talked about. We had some program updates. Jimmy Johnson is our regional SNAP educator. He got promoted to regional SNAP educator. He was just Pine County. And so he did get a real nice promotion. With his promotion, he still stays because he's kind of vested here. He lives here, right around here somewhere. I'm not exactly sure. But, so he was pretty excited about everything they got going on. And then, Hannah did talk about 4-H. They're working hard to get through, the fair. She said the registrations were right on track or where they were. They're not, they maybe were a little bit down, but she expects them to get really close. And she did propose out there if anybody wants to, help out with the fair, any of us on the board, they would just contact her, like she said, handing out ribbons or stuff like that, that they really get a kick out of that, the kids do. Or I think they got, is it like a barbecue tasting or something like that?
Good.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty good food.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that she said. if
I'm good
anybody's-
at that
I
one.
did that with Reese.
Yeah. If there's just reach out to her and she'll find us something.
The kids really do the hand of ribbon, you know, when they say, here's County Commissioner Josh Moore, gonna hand your blue ribbon or whatever. I don't know, they seem to get a kick out of
Yeah.
it anytime I've done it, so.
And then Rod was there, our extension educator, talking about, he's got some really cool production buckets right now that they can rent out, that you can, for pasture management. It's got all kinds of tools in it that measure way more than I know. And he even had the scoop thing that you throw out there and you clip all the grass and then you can measure how much was in that hoop and see if your production's good or bad or how to fix it and all that stuff. And he couldn't get everything back in the bucket. And I'm like, so who made the bucket? He goes, I did, but he couldn't figure out how to put it back in there. So we were joking about that. And then the big thing was our budget. They are gonna propose, so what's really kind of nice is extension educator or ag educator. They've had so much turnover, and that a lot of people have retired, that the price went up substantially. So our next year, memorandum of agreement, we're gonna put it in there where we can raise his position to 75% with a virtual, real little impact to our budget, what we have already budgeted for. And like we've done in the past, that you've been on the board and Matt's been on the board, since we've got this, we had been looking for this ag educator for probably 3-4 years. And I've always put it in the budget, and then when it comes to our budget, either we ax it or decide on a final 50% or whatever. So I did, Suzanne is gonna propose also a full-time, and just see where them numbers are. And
Sure.
we can, cause I said if we don't know it, then we can't make that decision. So we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, everything looks on track there, and it was a good meeting. So a beautiful day.
When we met with them before, one of the things that she had brought up was that with Rod, he would have a class or a seminar or something, and our county residents might not have gotten a seat in it because it was open to so many other places. And last year with it being virtual, they had somebody from like Oregon or something like that that attended. But with him being more with Pine County, then it will affect our county residents more. We'll get more bang for the buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we did when we were looking, when we went through all this. That's kind of what we wanted, was not necessarily Rod doing everything himself, but pulling the resources in. And Extension has been there, but we kind of bought into the U of M, all their stuff. So a lot of the stuff they pull in, and then we got the opportunity to have more and more and more. So, and he's busy beyond, I mean, he's got way more to do than he can get done. But, so it's good. He is not twiddling his thumbs by no means. And I've heard a lot of good positive stuff with him already. So we'll see. Hopefully it continues. And it's hard to put anything on a COVID year when, I mean, this is the first time I think I've met him at a meeting and then he's been here almost, well, it's been a year, I think already. So, but yeah. So.
Economic development, I think we covered that pretty well.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to repeat it. Yeah.
Lakes and Pines, we had a meeting yesterday. I think we had 22, good thing we're in person because I think we had 22 things that we had to vote on for grants because they survive on grants. And one of them was the Pine County. There were a couple things for Pine County, mental health. Was it a mental health thing? Anyway, and the fix up, the house fix up thing. Broadband update.
We received 7 proposals. One of them was 57 pages long. No, that was the longest one though. But out of those 7, we met yesterday. It was David, Leslie and I, and we picked 3 of them that we're going to seek out for interviews. And then Leslie's going to coincide with that and call the references and see where they're at and what they feel if they would benefit us or not. Or
Good.
yeah. So hopefully, it's the second meeting in August that we're figuring that we'll have information that will come to the board.
Yes. And so we likely are going to be doing the interviews the first week of August. And then we need to pull the funding together, and we think we're going to apply for a blending grant. We need to reach out to the Initiative Foundation, and then we can also tap some ARPA funds. But then we think we're going to have a package to bring for approval to the second meeting in August.
Okay, good. At least we can keep moving forward.
Going forward, yep.
Any other business?
You know, I attended some NACO conferences, and so I'd gotten a phone call and they wanted me to transfer my vote over to Rich Svi, and I thought, oh, nope, I want to vote for Mary Jo. But I had that library meeting and I just wasn't positive I was going to make it back. And so I did give it to the state and he did vote, which was a good thing because they had a voting glitch. So all the people that voted virtually, they voted, and then they thought voted and they got off line. And the votes were all messed up. Everything was screwy. Things weren't being counted. And so they had to do a revote. So all those people that had voted virtually, they were already done. They were gone. And so our vote probably wouldn't have been counted. And this way, they got all of Minnesota to give their votes over to the states. So everybody was represented. Mary Jo won by 75. She had 75% of the votes. And so, and she was at the conference this week too. So it was, or last week. So it was good to see her. But I talked to Ryan about some of this stuff already that they had talked about that was really important that we do for cybersecurity. And he's on top of it, you know, hats off to Ryan. And I have some stuff I want to talk to Becky about and just some really good ideas and good thoughts. And there was some good meetings.
No other business. We'll be back in session tomorrow at the in Pine City at 9 a.m.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
it depends on how long Deb's firm goes in the morning, but I might be half hour late for that meeting tomorrow. But I'll get there.
He might be.
Okay.
It'll be good to have you there when you get there, Matt.
Dial in when you can.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll be waiting for you.
Thank you.
Dave?
Tomorrow's meeting,
Meeting's adjourned.
soil and water update, and then there's a juvenile center, and then there's solid waste budget. There's nothing in the package for soil and water. So what,
I do not know